Hello, my name is Rich Malava. My nickname in the forums is CTBRAM, and I just wanted to make a couple comments regarding some criticisms that were made of a video that I made for a user who's new to Maya, and he's modeling a surface and it had some holes in it, and naturally a new user would think about attacking this problem from the way that you would in the real world. You take the surface and you get out your drill and you drill holes in it. The whole purpose of my tutorial was not to show how to make a low poly model, it was to show how to solve the problem of putting holes in a surface, but it's approaching it from an entirely different point of view. Rather than taking the surface and put holes into it, why not start with the holes and fill in the gaps between the holes? That was the purpose of the video. As far as everything in the model, I used just the default primitives. So for cylinders, it's 20-sided cylinders, and for spheres, it was 20 by 20. And I didn't bother going through and thinking about how few polygons I needed and how close I was going to get to the model and try to optimize the polygons. I made the video using my own time, and so I did it as fast as I could. I didn't want to sit there and make it into a 3-hour tutorial that talked about how to optimize poly count, how to avoid ngons, and such. Now, let's address this issue of poly count. Here's a cylinder with 8 sides. This is really not even the minimum number of sides you need to smooth and get a circle. This still gives me an ellipse, but I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt and start from the smallest cylinder I could. So here's 8 sides, and I threw an edge bevel on it so that even unsmooth I get these nice highlights around the edges. But unless I want to use this as a stop sign with nice highlighted edges, it's absolutely useless to me in a model. So I have to, at a minimum, throw a two division smooth on this, which the smooth preview does by default right here. And so now with the 2-division smooth on it, first of all, it's not circular, and secondly, it goes up to 576 polygons, and if I come in even this close, I can clearly see facets still in the model. So the price I paid by making this thing as low poly as I could is that now 2 subdivisions for the distance I want to get away from it is not enough. I have to go to 3 levels of subdivision to get this distance away from it and not be able to pick up, or just barely pick up, facets. If I was to get in even closer, I'd have to jump this up to 4 levels of subdivision. And when I go to 3 levels of subdivision, this thing jumps from 576 polygons to 2,304 polygons. So now I started out with this low poly model and I got bragging rights that my model was a low poly count, but then when I actually try to use it, it jumps up to 2,304 polygons to be able to get close enough to see it. Close enough not to see the faceting. Now, if I take this back to 2 levels of subdivision, which is the minimum I need to even try to get this thing to be a circle, and I compare it to this model over here, which is a cylinder with 100 sides in it. Oh my God, it's high poly. You're starting with so many polygons. You must not know how to model. Well, guess what? This guy, unsmoothed, has 401 polygons in it, which is 176 polygons less than this 8-sided thing that's smoothed to 2 levels of subdivision. And it's not circular, and it has facets in it. This one, I don't even have to smooth. It doesn't have facets. It has a beautiful edge highlighting, and the surface is not quads. It's a gigantic 100-sided ngon. And as long as this thing is planar, it will render just fine with 4 polygons, 4-sided polygons, or 4,000-sided polygons, as long as it's a planar surface. Maya is the only forum that I go to where somehow somebody has gotten ingrained into their brain that if you have any surface in a model that has more than 4 sides in it, you don't know what you're doing. My contention is, if you think that, you don't understand how the renderer and how modelers work. If the surface is planar, it doesn't matter if it's an ngon or not. If I don't intend to deform this, and my pipeline or the company I work for doesn't require this to be quads, if I was going to put this up on TurboSquid, yes, I'd have to come in here and cut this into quads. Not technically. You can put models in TurboSquid that aren't all quad and have ngons in them, but they would prefer that they don't have ngons in them, mainly because, not because it's a bad modeling technique, but no, it's because you don't know if the person who's going to buy your model in TurboSquid is going to intend to deform it or not. So you have to make it quads to be able to be deformable. This thing I'm building for me, and I know it's not going to deform. It's a hard surface model. In fact, most things you build in hard surface modeling are hard and aren't going to deform. They're not an organic surface like skin or flesh or scales. They're hard, and they're going to stay hard. And unless they get deformed or blown up, and in that case they generally are fractured, they still don't deform. As long as the surface is planar, my point is it doesn't matter how many sides the polygon has in it. And I'm sorry that I had to even go through the bother of making a video to defend myself in this, but I'm getting so sick and tired of trying to help people out in the forums, and then I get criticized for my work being too high poly and my objects having ngons in them, so somehow I must not know what I'm doing. That's insulting to me, quite frankly. So here you go. It's low polygon 8, and that doesn't work. I got to turn it into over 2,000 polygons to make it usable. Here's a surface. It's got a 100-sided ngon in it, and it renders just as well, in fact, better than this surface right here with smoothing on it. This surface will render better than that one.